Sure. The First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. The constitutions of our states may protect freedom of speech as well, but has the concept of free speech become lost to the very psyche of the American people? Recent events show that while freedom of speech may not be dead, it certainly is mortally wounded in America. So we'll discuss that next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution and we teach the rising generation to be free. I am glad you could join me. You know, it's been an amazing time. There's a lot going on. I got a lot of plans for 2021. And I really am glad for those of you who come and join me, who ask questions, who engage, who debate, who get involved in what's going on. So please take this video and all the videos, like them, share them, subscribe to the channel. Whatever you do, please let me know. I recently sent out a survey to the people I have in my mailing list asking what plans we should make for social media in 2021, based in part of what I'm going to talk about today. So most of all, I hope you don't get discouraged. I hope you'll hang around because I have some things I want to talk about at the end of the video. But right now, let's talk a little bit about the state of freedom of speech in America. The news from the week of January 4th has been quite disturbing, at least when it comes to freedoms and liberty. From those who abused their rights to peaceably assemble by illegally entering and vandalizing our nation's capital, to the announcement by several tech companies of their banning of speech they don't like, liberty in America seems to be on life support. Now understand, I uphold everyone's right to peaceably assemble, but I agree that those who rioted, trespassed, vandalized, and assaulted those in our nation's capital should be tried and, if convicted, should be punished. I also want those who rioted, trespassed, vandalized, and assaulted others in the riots of the summer of 2020 to be tried and, if convicted, punished as well, but I'm not holding my breath. The question on my mind today is, has freedom of speech in America died? There's a quote from Evelyn Beatrice Hall, quote, "I disapprove of what you say, but will defend to the death your right to say it." I remember as a young man hearing that quote paraphrased in many ways and attributed to many people. To me, it epitomized the idea of liberty. As long as what you say or do does not directly harm me, I will defend your rights, even at the cost of my life. Yet today, not only will many people fail to defend the freedom of speech of others, they actively bully, shame, and even make it illegal to offend them. This is the very antithesis of the quote I learned to cherish so many years ago. It appears that while our founding fathers were concerned about government silencing expression, what we should have been concerned about is the American people. Now, let me make it perfectly clear. What Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Google, and Amazon have done is perfectly legal, at least on the face of it. There may be contract and licensing violations, but nothing criminal that I've seen. And yes, I will defend to the death their right to only promote the speech they want. However, what does it say about the American people that they will not only condone the actions of these companies, but promote and support them as well? See, apparently those who run Twitter and Facebook do not believe you, the American people, should be allowed to read what the President of the United States has to say. See, not only did Twitter ban Donald Trump's personal account, but the official account of the office of the President. While their claims of violations of the rules and standards ring hollow and drip with hypocrisy, they are allowed to determine who can and cannot use their platform. Still, it also says that they believe you, the American people, should not know what the President of the United States is thinking or saying. In other words, both Facebook and Twitter think you should only be able to know what your government employee is doing if they approve of it. And it's not just Facebook and Twitter. Reddit and Twitch have both banned accounts for Donald Trump as well. We can add this to the long list of content providers, myself included, who have been banned from platforms. Now, I cannot speak for others, but since November 3rd, I've been banned from Facebook with no explanation of why. When they do accept my request for review, I'm told that I violated some community standard. Of course, I'm never told what community standard I supposedly violated or shown what I posted that was a violation. From the people I've talked to, this seems to be a pattern for most platforms. Now, during the Cold War, there was another organization that determined what the people of their country should and should not know. It was called Pravda. The fact that Pravda, which is Russian for truth, was nothing more than a propaganda arm for the government was a level of irony I thought I would never see again. Sadly, the idea that Twitter, Facebook, or these other platforms are applications for free speech or the open discussion of ideas puts Pravda to shame. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the inner workings of the internet, very few companies actually own their own servers. Not only are they expensive to purchase and maintain, but the amount of internet access to successfully host a website or application is generally very expensive. For that reason, most of the websites, services, and applications you use are hosted by hosting companies. Websites like Constitutionstudy.com, NewYorkTimes.com, and even CNN pay these companies to be hosted on their servers. Applications like Walmart, the Weather Channel, and Netflix rent time on cloud providers like Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud. Even where you download apps for your devices are hosted on someone else's servers. Both Apple and Google pulled one of their most downloaded applications from their servers, the Apple App Store and Google Play. So after you've developed your killer app, you're dependent on Apple or Google to get that app to your users. What happens when those hosting and cloud providers pull the plug? Well, Parler recently found out when they had their app pulled first from Apple's and then Google's servers. This was quickly followed by Amazon banning the app from the Amazon Web Services platform as well. That means that Parler has no way to get their app to your phone or tablet, and they had to scramble to find another hosting provider for their website. You may have heard that these three tech giants pulled Parler because of content that promotes or incites violence. That's funny because similar content is still available on Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms hosted by Amazon, Google, and other cloud providers. Even if you disapprove of what was said on Parler, are you not willing to defend the free speech of others? Now there are calls for TV providers to begin censoring information those with power do not like. Apparently, New Jersey Assemblyman Paul Moriarty wants Comcast to censor news channels he doesn't like. Do you really want your access to news limited to what certain political powers deem to be accurate? What would have happened if Richard Nixon had the authority to tell the Washington Post that the reports from Woodward and Bernstein were fake news? Or what if companies close to the Clinton administration had been able to censor information about the Lewinsky scandal? What happens when all of the information you can access is filtered, censored, and approved by these new ministries of truth? We need look no further than November 3rd, 2020. From MRC's Newsbuster site, I found, quote, a new post-election poll from the Media Research Center, conducted by McLaughlin and Associates, shows 36% of Biden voters were not aware of the evidence linking Joe Biden to corrupt financial dealings with China through his son Hunter. 13% of those voters, or 4.6% of Biden's total vote, say that had they known these facts, they would not have voted for the former vice president. Such a shift away from Biden would have meant Trump would have won the election with 289 electoral votes. See, when freedom of speech and press are restrained by government, media, or other actors, your liberty is at stake. Did the people truly have a free choice when they went to the ballot box? Even ignoring the evidence of potential fraud, the very idea that critical information about one candidate was held back while false information about the other was promoted means your right to a free and fair election was stolen. Apparently, Mr. Jefferson was correct when he said, quote, it is a melancholy truth that a suppression of the press could not more completely deprive the nation of its benefits than is done by its abandoned prostitution to falsehood. Nothing can now be believed which is seen in a newspaper. Truth itself becomes suspicious by being put in that polluted vehicle. The real extent of this state of misinformation is known only to those who are in situations to confront facts within their knowledge with the lies of the day. See, what was true of newspapers in 1807 is just as true today. Not only can nothing be believed from newspapers, TV, radio, podcasts, and social media, but the presence of information in these polluted vehicles makes them suspicious. That is why my articles include quotes with links so you can verify what I'm saying. The question is, now that you've begun to know the level of misinformation, What will you do about it? Some will simply whistle while they walk past the graveyard of freedom of speech and press. Some will rail and complain, asking that the same restrictions that started this mess be placed on the messages they don't like. Still others will look to government, asking them to bully the media and big tech companies to comply with, well, whoever's making the biggest stink in their offices of the day. Personally, I believe we need to think more like we're in the Matrix. For those of you not familiar with the movie, the people live in a virtual reality called the Matrix. They live their lives in the Matrix, unaware that they are being manipulated and controlled by it. A small band of heroes lives outside of the Matrix. They find those who can be freed and offer to show them the truth. This is where the term red pilling came from.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The vast majority of the American people are as unaware of what is going on as those caught in the Matrix. They do not see the lies of those in politics. They are not aware of the manipulation of the media and tech companies. They go blissfully through their lives as unaware of their chains as Jacob Marley before his death.
The chain? Tell me why. I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. Is its pattern strange to you? Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was as full, as heavy, and as long as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. It is a ponderous chain. I see no chain. Mine were invisible until the day of my death, as yours shall be.
Most people seem unaware of the chains that bind them. Chains of out-of-control governments, chains of controlled media. Sadly, most of these people are unable to be awakened from their slumber and unwilling to see the chains that bind them. They are unable to comprehend that their rights are ignored, their votes manipulated, and their governments work to enslave rather than free them. If they were shown the truth, they would simply deny it and go back to their peaceful ignorance. Now, there are some who see that something is wrong. They know that the problem isn't just with government or politicians, but society itself that has turned their back on freedom. Those who are seeking the truth need only to be pointed in the right direction. There are organizations that help to educate those who are interested in learning, and I hope you will support them. But I think we need more. I have reached out to my members for input on how we can not only survive, but thrive in a land where the enemies of truth and freedom are out to get us. I'm also offering free memberships to my program, the Constitution Scholars, where those who want to learn about the Constitution, their rights, and their liberty can do so without fear of reprisal, where those who feel alone can find others just as interested in liberty, and where those looking for their own red pill can find the prescription they need. If you have any suggestions or just want to join the conversation, please sign up at the website. In fact, I'll even give you a free book. If you want to check out the scholars, just register for your free account at constitutionscholars.com. Whichever way you decide to proceed, please ask yourself one question. What is freedom of speech worth to you and to your children? And never forget the words of President Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We did not pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed over for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States, where men were free. You know, it's interesting. Ever since I sent out that questionnaire, that survey about what do we do, and I noted the fact that, among other things, I had been banned, I've gotten two different types of reactions. Now, some people are encouraging. They ask, how can they spread more information? Where could I possibly share what I'm doing? And there have been a few that assume that, well, if Facebook banned me, they did it for good reason. You know, the idea of being innocent until proven guilty in America used to be so much a part of our fabric. Today, it seems you're innocent until somebody says otherwise. Now, if I did something that was a violation of Facebook's community standards, I want to know. If I did something that was truly a violation, I cannot fix it if they won't tell me what the problem is, which is, to me, the biggest problem. My issue with Facebook is less that they booted me off the platform, but that they wouldn't have the decency to tell me specifically why. What did I do that offended them? I don't know why they won't, and I will not impute motives to people I do not know, but it does seem suspicious to me. The question is, will the American people roll over while their freedom is taken? And I don't just mean by government. You see, freedom of speech is not simply your First Amendment right or your right under the constitutions of your state to speak freely. Freedom of speech is an idea that I may despise what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Why has that disappeared? And more importantly, what can we do to get it back? Whether it be political correctness or cancel culture or the myriad of other things that we see in this country, why has this idea that speech must be restricted become so popular, become such a part of the ethos of the American people? See, that's the part that truly scares me. It's not that one day someone may come down and shut down my websites, shut down my YouTube channel, even that one day they may come and confiscate my gear. Is that my daughter will not live in a country where she can freely express her ideas and, more importantly, freely hear the ideas of others. You see, Facebook and Twitter didn't just block and ban President Trump. They denied to the American people a method of hearing what their employee says. What Mr. Moriarty wants to do in New Jersey is not to simply ban certain news channels. It's to restrict the information available to the American people. That's the part that seems often overlooked, and to me is the most dangerous. So what can we do about it? Well, as long as I've got breath in my lungs and access to the internet and a website, well, I will keep educating the people as best I can with information and quotes directly from original sources. Now, you can head to theconstitutionstudy.com and find out more. As I said, on the right-hand side, if you click and register, you get a free book. That book is Read the Constitution in 30 Days. It's designed to help everyone read the Constitution, be a little bit more familiar with it. You can also head over to constitutionscholars.com. That is a place designed not only for you to educate yourself, but to be in contact with others. There's classes, there's a library, but most importantly, there are the communities. The communities are where you can find others who are interested in freedom and liberty and the Constitution, where you can discuss and debate and ask questions and find answers, and maybe just find out that you're not alone, that there are other people who are as interested in this as you are. So I hope you will share this information with others, because the answer to bad speech is not a restriction of speech, but more good speech. Please check out the website, both of them, Constitution Study and Constitution Scholars. And if what I've said you found at all valuable, worth your time, I hope I'll see you here next time on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand.